So why would one pick a Volkswagen over a Skoda?
Comparing it with another brand in the group, I would even, bet on saying that if it was one brand which was present in the country, maybe the volumes that we are selling today would have been only at 60%.
And you don't have diesel. Announcements were made that diesel will come back into the Skoda portfolio.
It's very important that whatever you bring in, you do full justice to it. And if I am honest, currently our bandwidth is stretched.
We still haven't had an electric car. What's happening with EVs?
I can see already in the market bloodbath of cars in that same segment. It's mayhem, yeah. So I'm glad we didn't take those decisions.
For better or worse, the reputation of Skoda in terms of service is not the best.
Our maintenance costs are not so bad. Yeah, our maintenance costs are one of the best in the industry right now.
At the Skoda group, what are the opportunities that are there and in what streams? Welcome to the Evo India podcast, and look who we have in our studio today. We've got Ashish Gupta, the new brand director at Skoda Auto India. 9 months ago, Ashish, you were in that very same chair and we were talking about Volkswagen. Congratulations on taking over as brand director at Skoda, and welcome to the Evo India podcast.
Thank you, Sirish. And the only change that I seen myself is that day I was wearing a bluish jacket. Today I am in the Skoda colors.
Yep, looking sharp as always.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have to ask you about when you got the news of your being offered the new role. But before that, it's been a month since you've been at the helm?
Almost a month.
A month. Let's do a quick SWOT analysis.
Okay.
So, strengths that you see at the Skoda brand.
No, I think the product portfolio, with now the Kylaq being launched, I think there's a complete SUV portfolio available, starting from the Kylaq to the Kushaq to the Kodiaq. The Kodiaq brand also, by the way, is a brand new car introduction into the country. So you do have a complete SUV portfolio, along with the Slavia, which continues the strong legacy of Skoda on sedans. Yeah.
Weaknesses,
I would say the network expansion right now, because it's been a big ramp up in terms of network, because you're now addressing new segments in the market with the Kylaq. So the network expansion is right now a challenge, and it will take a little bit time to stabilize. So that I think I wouldn't call it a weakness, but something which we need to work on.
opportunities.
Lot of opportunities. I think with the Kylaq, you have a new opportunity and new set of customers to address. And if we do it well, the future is more or less secure.
And finally, threats.
Threats, I would say policy instability, a lot of geopolitical situations worldwide, the uncertainties in the market with all the FTA news, the stock markets going up and down. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and that seems to be affecting consumers' buying behavior as well.
So that's a great way to start this. Welcome to the Evo India podcast. We are talking about Skoda's opportunities, the vision for Skoda for the tenure. We're also going to be talking about the iconic cars that Skoda had in the past, and also cars that you plan to bring in. We're going to talk about diesels, because that's something that everybody has been talking about. The Octavia RS, which is a car that's very close to our hearts here at Evo India. We talk about the thrill of driving, and also we'll talk about the traditional issues that Skoda have had, including service, and what you are going to be doing to further attend to that and look at it. So this is the start of our podcast. Ashish, when you got the news from, I'm guessing, your HR or maybe the group head of being offered this role at Skoda, what was the first thought that came to your mind?
No, I think, difficult to express those emotions, because you having spent almost 12 years at a brand, it is sometimes difficult to imagine yourself being in any other colors or any other chair. And to be honest, I got the news when I was in Germany, actually in the heart of Wolfsburg, taking our dealers to Wolfsburg, sitting in the Mark and Hock House, as it is called. It is the center of the world for Volkswagen, the building where our board members sit, and that is where this discussion took place.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of an ironic kind of a moment for me. But having said that, I think we are professionals. Yeah, and I think if you look back, we've all been brought up on Gita as a treatise which governs our lives. What is in your hands at the end of the day? Karam. You just have to do the best that you can in the job you are in.
Did you take some time to think over it?
Yes, I did. Definitely, I did. As I said, 10 or 12 years of legacy, 12 years of, devoting your blood, sweat and tears to something. Of course, it takes a time and you must take time to think about your decisions. And I did.
In motorsport, we say this, that in a team, your competing driver is not from another team, but it's your own teammate. To take that analogy into the group, your first rival is your own group mate, and then it is the larger market. We talked about this earlier, about how between Skoda and Volkswagen, in Europe, there's a very clear distinction between the two brands. Whereas in India, at least for most customers, that distinction doesn't come across clearly. So why would one pick a Volkswagen over a Skoda? Mainly it is styling, or if a dealership is closer. Are you looking at some ways in which to differentiate the brands more clearly and appeal to a different set of audience? Do you need it, or doesn't matter?
No, I think, the way to exploit a growing market is, is to have competing brands. If I talk about from a group perspective now, you have to look at it commercially and also from what makes sense in different markets. India is a hugely growing market. There are parts of the country which are still untapped. So the way you approach that market is, even if you have similar products with similar positioning, you still have a big space that you can capture. I would even, bet on saying that if it was one brand which was present in the country, maybe the volumes that we are selling today would have been only at 60% of what we are selling today. So there are distinct positions both the brands have built. If you look at it, the legacy of the brands, Skoda has been in India for more than 25 years.
Exactly.
Skoda has a huge legacy in India. And over the last 1 month, I have been meeting a lot of dealer partners who have been with Skoda for more than 20 years and have stuck by Skoda for the last 20 years. Similarly for customers. So there is definitely a loyalty to the brand. Now, comparing it with another brand in the group, I think it's more relevant from the outside in view. But from an inside out view from the group, I think this is the right thing to do.
And obviously the strength is both the brands together. So, your cost structure comes down, your plant is also better utilized.
I'm not even going into that. I'm not even going into that because I'm purely speaking from a customer point of view right now. I've also had this discussion internally on how we are being clubbed together. When you also do a podcast, you always talk about Skoda and VW together. That is something which, I think we have to a little bit also address internally in our communications. How do we keep our communications very distinct for each brand? At the end of the day, I wouldn't also want every customer to think that, Skoda and VW are same. Each brand has its values. Each brand has its distinct networks. Each brand has its own design language. And that is something which we should be talking about uniquely.
Skoda's brand in India has been built on the back of the Octavia. The Octavia was the first car to come from Skoda. It came before Volkswagen also came to India. It came in a segment that wasn't really there. It, in fact, created that segment. Also, it came with a diesel engine. Today, you don't have a Octavia in your portfolio as of now, and you don't have diesel. Let's start with the diesel first. Announcements were made that diesel will come back into the Skoda portfolio. Are those still on?
Yeah, diesel is definitely not off the table. But that is not a focus area for me right now. To be honest, we have a task cut out. There are 2 new models that we have just launched. The Kylaq and the Kodiaq. As I said, I believe in taking one step at a time. Let's consolidate. Let's make these a success. Then start focusing out. It's not a question of bringing a lot of products. It's also about, can you do justice with those products? That's very important for us. At least for me personally, it's very important that whatever you bring in, you do justice, full justice to it. And if I am honest, currently our bandwidth is stretched. With the kind of network expansion we are doing, with the kind of communication load that we have to handle, the kind of team expansion you have to handle, I would rather focus my resources on making what we have a success.
Is diesel important?
In the larger scheme of things, yes. If again carrying forward, let's say 5 years down the line, if you have to become or stay relevant in the Indian market, you will definitely have to increase your product portfolio. You will definitely have to increase your powertrain options. You will definitely have to go into markets which are predominantly, diesel. So if our ambitions are to grow in India, you definitely have to keep all these options in your portfolio.
And hybrid also has to be there.
Of course. So nothing is off the table. Yeah. So all these are evaluations. At the end of the day, you have to take commercial calls along with what the market needs and take the best bet out of those options.
In terms of speculation, now we've been speculating that the Octavia RS is coming. In fact, you announced that Octavia RS is coming to India, and that is like a hero car. You've launched the Golf GTI. That was the last thing that you did. Were you surprised by the kind of response that it got?
No, not really surprised. Not really surprised. I think these kind of icons, we know that these will work. But having said that, you still have to work on it. You have to create that desirability. You have to create that uniqueness of product through your product placement, through your communications. It's just a question of appealing to the right people.
And that must be giving you a lot of confidence for the Octavia RS?
I don't think I needed to look at the Golf GTI to get confidence into the Octavia RS. Octavia RS is an icon in itself. Yeah? Even if I was not in Volkswagen earlier and with any other brand, I would still love to get the Octavia RS into the country.
Does the business case work for local assembly? Because the Octavia RS was locally assembled and that's why it was aggressively priced.
I don't think so. At this moment. As I said, there is too much on the plate. So I wouldn't like to stick my neck out and say, I will now go in for a local assembly of the Octavia RS. At the most, it is an icon and customers in India deserve to have access to the icon. And that is what we are working on.
The regular Octavia, is that in the pipeline?
A lot of the discussions, to be honest. Again, the business cases, FTA, as you said, although I shouldn't add to the to the speculation right now, but the policy guidelines can change your decisions. So once we have the contours of all these discussions on the table, definitely.
What was the opportunity that you saw here that made you say yes?
No, I think more than opportunity, it was a challenge. There's a challenge in front of Skoda right now in terms of ramping up the volumes, going into new segments, making, India is one of the most important markets for Skoda outside of Europe. So therefore, there is an opportunity and a challenge to make that happen, to establish Skoda as the second leg of Skoda worldwide. So that's an opportunity and a challenge. And I have always loved a challenge.
Yeah. Within the larger Skoda Volkswagen group.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's called the Skoda Volkswagen group, not the Volkswagen group in India. And that means Skoda is in the driver's seat. That puts extra pressure on you being at the helm of the brand. But also that gives you a much stronger opportunity to steer the path of the group itself. Especially now that globally Skoda has charge of the MQB A0 platform, which is the bread and butter of the group here in India. What are your first plans for the brand?
No, I think the important thing right now, one step at a time, Sirish. I don't think I'm in a position to think that far ahead, that I will take charge of the destiny of the group in India. That's not the way I think. I think it has to be step by step. There are challenges or there's work to be done right now. And that work is basically making Kylaq a success. So that's the only task I'm looking forward to, very focused on that right now.
What's your first impression of the Kylaq? When
Beautiful
did you
car.
first drive it?
Beautiful car. I drove it almost 3 months back. Not 3 months back, in fact, in October last year, actually, because you have to continuously assess competition. And, definitely the Kylaq at that point of time was competition to Volkswagen.
Yes.
So I was among the first to go to Pune, have a look at the car, drive it. And my first impressions were, it's a wonderful car. Especially I was blown away by the interiors.
Okay.
We have spoken about it earlier as well. And, if you look at feedback coming in from customers, it's always been, the interiors could have been better in both Volkswagens and Skodas. And I thought the engineering team and the design team did a wonderful job in the interiors of the car. The second thing which struck me was the proportions of the car. The proportions are very dynamic, I would say, but at the same time, very SUV-ish. We all can imagine that with the restrictions that you have in the sub 4 meter category, designing a good looking car in this segment is not easy. Yes. Yeah, and especially for European designers to even think a car of this size and make it look good is a challenging task. So I think they did a brilliant job.
So for us, we love the way that the Kylaq drove.
Yep.
The power from the TSI engine, the handling, the ride comfort, the usability. In fact, we've done a story recently on taking the Kylaq to one of our favorite driving roads, which we haven't gone to in a year.
Which one?
Up to Lavasa.
Okay.
Because the approach roads have become so bad that it's just painful to get there. But the Kylaq, it can take those horrible roads and then when you get to those nice corners, it can actually handle well and it really enthuses the enthusiast. We've also done a story where we call the Kylaq the spiritual successor
Which
of
I didn't
the Polo.
like when I was there.
Yes, which I believe ruffled a lot of feathers at Volkswagen. But now, do you agree with what we said?
No, I think every car has its DNA. You know, at the end of the day, comparing or trying to take over the legacy of another brand or another model doesn't make sense. You have to create your own legacy. That's how every product should be approached with. The objective of any team should be to make a legacy out of this. That's how I approach it. Yeah.
So we love the driving, we love the way it's put together, and obviously safety. Safety is a big pillar of Skoda, of Volkswagen. All the cars have been properly safe cars. How do you take the Kylaq now and really introduce it to the masses? Because this is going to be your volume play.
Yeah, totally. And that's the challenge. If you look at the portfolio right now, the entire thing that we see as something which Skoda is now in a position to do is to get closer to the customers. What do I mean by getting closer to the customers? First of all, you need to have the products which address the belly of the market. And we all know the belly of the market right now is the A00 or the sub 4 meter SUV segment.
Yes.
That is the segment which is pulling in a lot of volume from the hatchbacks. Customers who have grown up accustomed to hatchbacks have actually now graduated to SUVs. And what is their first stop? The sub 4 meter SUV.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the belly of the market. So with your product portfolio, you're getting closer to the customer. You already have a Kushaq in the A0 SUV segment, which is again something which customers can graduate to. Yeah, so you can keep a lot of customers in your family and grow your family to a large extent, which may not have been possible with the India 2.0 cars. You were not addressing a large chunk of the market. So that is one way of getting closer to the customers. Naturally, when you get into these segments, you're also getting closer to the customers through your network. The kind of cities we are now present in more than 180 cities. Yeah, so with more than 240 touch points. So definitely you are getting closer to the markets where your customers are. You are also getting closer to the customers in the way you communicate. Because this is again a different set of customers who have different needs, different requirements, and you have to get closer to them in terms of what appeals to them culturally, whether it is language, whether it's the way you position your cars. So that is again a radical shift that you have to do to get closer to them. So I think the next 3 or 4 years are pivotal for Skoda. If we are able to make it a success in terms of getting closer to the Indian customer, I think we can make it.
Is there a worry that the Kushaq is going to get cannibalized by the Kylaq?
No, again, it depends on very clear positioning. If I have to be critical about anything in Skoda for the last 1 month, whatever I have seen, we have not been distinct enough. Yeah. That is something which very clearly we need to define. I do believe that customers associate, and the competitive advantage any product can have is if you're distinctive, any brand or any product. That is where we need to work on. How do you do that? By positioning each car distinctively, staying true to it, staying consistent to it. Yeah. That's going to be a task, but at the same time, I think a good opportunity for us to redefine how we communicate.
You obviously have the facelift for the Kushaq that is coming. It's no secret that it's like round the corner. So that will help you in the repositioning of the Kushaq. You started off by talking about the Slavia and about your strengths in the sedan segment. You were at Volkswagen and the Virtus has outsold the Slavia. Now both are the same cars. Right? Where do you see, or what was lacking in the Slavia? Why did it not get as many customers?
I don't think anything is lacking in the car. Today also we were in the Pune plant. Your studio is in Pune, so whenever I have to meet you, I make it a habit to go to the Pune plant. The car is brilliant. I think last 1 year was a little bit of a challenging year for Skoda. There were a lot of upheavals in the dealer network. So that leads to I would say, a loss of focus. Yeah. Once that focus is back and that hunger to sell is back, I don't see any reason why we can't bounce back with the Slavia and the Kushaq.
Yeah. A larger picture of the Indian market. You talked about the belly being in the compact SUV segment, and also the mid SUV segment is like a very profitable segment.
Sure.
Hatchbacks is like not a game to be played now.
I can say always that there is always an opportunity. If you look at the market dynamics right now or the structure of the market, after the A00 SUV segment, it is still the hatchback segment, which is the biggest segment. There are players who are strong in that segment, but definitely from the product action you would have seen also, the number of products being launched in that segment is becoming lesser and lesser.
Exactly.
Yeah? So it is definitely something which industry also believes in is not a long-term bet, not only us.
Yeah. So I was coming from the fact that Skoda had the Fabia. Yeah. Now, when the Fabia came in, it had its initial share of teething troubles. Yeah. But it was also the first premium hatchback in the country. It laid the template for everything that was to come later, including the i20.
Yeah.
Is it sensible, or do you have that vision to at least bring back the Fabia nameplate to India? Does Skoda need that for volumes?
I don't think so. I think with the Kylaq now we are in the right space, we are in the right body style, and we are right where the customers want to be. Yeah, so that is something which I think is out of the table or off the table now.
Yeah, you spoke about untapped potential in India. What is the untapped potential?
No, I think untapped potential is the hinterland. Yeah, the big parts of India which are aspirational, which have disposable incomes which 10 years ago didn't exist. Parts of the country which have information and access to income, access to capital, and access to products which never existed before. Parts of India which are so aware because of internet availability that they know what they want. Yeah, these are the areas where if you are able to penetrate and get closer to, there's a tremendous opportunity.
And that means you have to have a physical presence. Digital won't work.
Of course not. Yeah, you have to get closer. Yeah, so if I look at my network right now with the 240 touch points, I represent still only around 75% of the geography of India. Yeah, of course, these 75% of the geography also means 80% of the market. Yeah, that's how you attack it. But within that 80% also, there are so many pockets that you can address and go get closer to the customers.
Yeah. What does Skoda stand for you personally?
I think 3 or 4 values that I feel like also connect with from the Skoda brand house. One is simplifying. Yeah, and I've experienced it firsthand in Skoda in the last 1 month. It's a much simpler company to work with.
Oh, really? Okay.
Much simpler brand to work with. Volkswagen as a group, being such a large behemoth, it sometimes becomes difficult to get decisions made. Skoda in that way is much simpler to approach. Yeah, easier decision making, faster, to the market. That is one. Very, very focused on being closer to the customers and being customer focused. Yeah, so that is something which is I think very refreshing also for me. These are 2 or 3 values which I think associate well with how I want to drive business as well.
I love the fact that Skoda thinks of things that you wouldn't have thought of. Like in your new Kodiaq, you have that kind of like a wipe for the screen, which I have not seen it in any other car.
That's again another value, surprising.
Yeah.
So that's something which actually the Easter eggs that you find in our cars. Yeah,
and those umbrellas in the door. That's always been such a nice touch. Though, of course, a lot of the press cars, when it comes, those umbrellas half the time are not there. But that's a different thing.
That's our business strategy. We have a lot of them available in accessories.
So let's talk about EVs.
Yeah.
2 years back at the Bharat Mobility Show, the Enyaq IV was going to be launched. We still haven't had an electric car. What's happening with EVs? Are you waiting for policy decisions? Because policy keeps changing.
Yeah, exactly.
From 1 year to the other. And now you could probably be waiting for the EU-India FTA. After that, there'll be something else that you could wait for. When do you stop waiting for policy decisions and just get on with it?
No, I'm glad you asked that question, and I'm glad that we did not take that decision to bring it.
Okay.
It would have been a disaster, and same for the other brand as well. At the time we were contemplating taking these decisions and bringing those cars in India, I can see already in the market bloodbath of cars in that same segment. No, I won't name the manufacturer or the kind of offers those are available on those cars. It's mayhem. Yeah. So I'm glad we didn't take those decisions. Those decisions, I think, cannot be made at the spur of the moment or just for the heck of it. Yeah, definitely if I look at it purely selfishly from a brand point of view, I would love to get an Enyaq into the country because that would give me an opportunity to talk about something, European engineering, our leadership in EV and everything. But is that sustainable? I would rather have a long-term plan locked in and then attack it accordingly. Otherwise, you're destroying the brand by taking ad hoc decisions.
It's important to have EVs, especially for your
Oh,
CO2.
definitely.
Right?
Definitely. But the entire portfolio, the entire strategy has to be in place. Then you can start building up to that. Yeah. Yesterday, the government has notified finally the EV policy. I don't know whether I've not still gotten into the details of it because it's fresh off the blocks right now. So we have to get into the details of how practical is it, what are we going to do about it. So those discussions will take place. But having said that, there is no question that EVs have to be in your portfolio. Yeah.
The India EU FTA, it's a matter of time before it happens. UK, India, the handshake has already happened. Obviously, none of the modalities have been spelled out, but it's happening. Once the FTA happens, how does it benefit your business?
See, again, the FTA thing, it has caused so much of heartburn in the market right now, Sirish. Just this news that there is a FTA with the UK, nobody understands that in the FTA is, as you said, a handshake. What the details are, how long is that duty benefit available for, how many cars, which cars, by when will the FTA be operationalized, is still all in the air. So I wouldn't like to add to any speculation in the market by commenting on it. There is already enough speculation in the market which is causing a lot of problems. Yeah, customers do not understand that the FTA handshake and its final implementation, maybe the gap may be too long.
Yes. But Ashish, what is the biggest miss that you see in Skoda's portfolio right now?
Biggest miss?
Yeah. The biggest hole, gap.
I think with the Kylaq now we have plugged a big hole.
Okay.
Yeah. So, of course, there can always be holes. If you start talking about it, we don't have a hatchback. We don't have something in the range between Kushaq and Kodiaq. Those are things that you can always look at. But at the end of the day, with the Kylaq, Kushaq, and the Kodiaq and the Slavia, we cover more than 55 to 60% of the market. As it exists in India today. So I think that is a substantial portfolio.
Kodiaq, well received?
Oh, extremely well. Extremely well. The first 1 month itself, we have had more than 500 bookings. Last month, we delivered close to 220 cars. So far, so good.
Are you limited by the number of cars that you can bring in?
No.
You're fine because you're CKD, so you're fine.
Yeah, it's a PNC, so we are fine with that.
In terms of the brand visibility also around the Kodiaq, that is strong and that helps the rest of the cars?
Definitely, of course. That's why you want to have a portfolio and you want to have cars in the premium range because at the end of the day, we are a European brand. We are seen as premium and that is one of the distinctiveness we have, European and premium. And the Kodiaq definitely helps that.
A month or so ago when we caught up at your office in Mumbai, you were all excited about your new company car, which was going to be a red Tiguan R-Line. You've obviously now swapped into the Kodiaq. What are your opinions of the differences between the two? I'm not going to ask which do you prefer, but what is your opinion of the differences between the two?
No, I think both have very distinct personalities. I think you have spoken about it also in one of your podcasts. I think the Kodiaq, for example, is more refined luxury. So it is a bigger car. It just gives you a feeling of luxury when you step into the L&K, for example. So it is more luxurious, more I would say elegance personified kind of a placement compared to the Tiguan R-Line.
Yeah. I should stop talking about Volkswagen versus Skoda, but I can't help myself. Last question, I promise. At VW, you had a clear positioning of the 1.5s with the GT badge. Now, Skoda has the Monte Carlo badge, but the Monte Carlo badge doesn't have the same cachet as GT. And at the Skoda portfolio, the 1 liter and the 1.5s aren't clearly differentiated. And maybe that's the reason why VW sells more 1.5s than Skoda does. How do you address that?
No, but I always also believed that that is the case. But when I look at the data within Skoda, that is not the case.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ratios between 1.5 and 1 liter between Skoda and Volkswagen are not very different.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a perception. So that is a perception which is one of my tasks to address.
Okay. How do you build up the Monte Carlo badge?
No, I think it's about consistent communication at the end of the day. You have to stay true to your vision. You have to stay true to what your brand pillars and your product pillars are, and just be anal about it. Yeah? So that's something which we need to do at Skoda.
Does Motorscope have space in that brand
Motorsports?
communication?
At the moment, no, to be honest, Sirish. I know you're passionate about it. Yeah, I know that you're always asking me about it. At this point, no. As I said, I have to take my bets right now. I have to make sure that my resources are focused where there are more chances of success. Lot to do on the brand side, on the network side, on the product side. So I would rather focus on less but do it well.
And it's a difficult time for the market as a whole, right? The automotive market is not as rosy as it was post-COVID. In fact, it's gone back to pre-COVID days where heavy discounting, dealers have got a lot of stock. What's the situation like?
No, I think the last 2 months have been worrying, to be honest. May, I would say, a little bit of an aberration also. I don't know how much, but due to the geopolitics that have happened in the first 1 week or 10 days of the month, a lot of uncertainty from an overall global geopolitics, tariff talks and everything. So yes, last 2 months have been a little bit tight for the industry, and we could see it in the numbers as well. May was almost flat compared to May last year, and in fact compared to April as well. So yes, there are headwinds in the industry right now. I would say at this point of time, with 5 months gone, I would still say the industry would grow by 4 to 5% because year till date we are at around 3% growth. If the monsoons are good, if the festive season is good, the industry still has a chance to grow 4 to 5%, which should take the industry to 4.3 million, which was also the forecast at the start of the year. So all is not lost, but last 2 months definitely have been tough.
What do you identify as the biggest challenge right now for the industry as a whole?
I think overcapacity.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something which everybody is grappling with right now. And that is leading to whatever is happening in the market right now in terms of discounts, in terms of higher tacticals, in terms of desperation by some OEMs actually.
And you see that getting addressed, or this is going to be the situation?
Overcapacity is not something which you can address. Capacity once built, you have a plant which is standing there. So it's then it becomes a question of how much of that capacity actually you need to utilize to still get your fixed costs back.
The SAVIPL group, it has emphasized nurturing local leadership. How do you see that philosophy influencing Skoda's strategy for product development going forward?
I think there's a lot of integration of local thought processes into the product development, and that also is a refreshing change for me. Of course, not only now, but when I was in my previous role as well, the kind of discussions we have with the design teams at headquarters, earlier in Wolfsburg, now in Mlada Boleslav, the kind of visits we have, a lot of integration, a lot of thought processes from the local teams are integrated. A lot of I would say personnel exchange between headquarters and India. A lot of colleagues from our design teams, our development teams, even sales and marketing teams sitting in headquarters, giving them a flavor of what India needs, what India wants. I think there's a lot of integration, a lot of understanding on that.
And of course, you do a lot of localization. The Kylaq heavily localized, the Kushaq and the Slavia also heavily localized. And that helps you in your cost. I remember when the whole India 2.0 project came on board also, you all talked so much about the child parts and reducing the cost of components. And that brings me to the other important question around Skoda, and that is service. Now, for better or worse, the reputation of Skoda in terms of service is not the best.
Sure.
Even though the cars are similar, so there's no reason why one brand should have a worse reputation for service as the other. Could also boil down to a little bit on the dealer front, but in general, it should not be the case. How do you address that, and how do you improve Skoda's service reputation?
I think, it's not rocket science. You have to address some facts out of it and some perceptions. I think I would attack the facts first. Having said that, the facts are that our maintenance costs are not so bad. Yeah, our maintenance costs are one of the best in the industry right now. Our network reach is much better. Yeah, that was one of the grouses that customers had, that Skoda service was not easily accessible. Now with more than 200 service workshops available, we are much closer to the customers. I think the challenge that we need to address is more in terms of capability at the network. Yeah, that's something which, when you're expanding so fast, is something which sometimes takes a little bit time and a lot of effort to get up to where you need it to be. But that's a laser sharp focus we have right now, to get the capabilities of the network up to speed, to be able to deliver the kind of service that our customers deserve and expect from us. Yeah, I know there are challenges, there are things that we need to address, both on the factual part and also a little bit on the perception side. Yeah, it is also about how do you communicate, how do you present your good points to the customers. Sometimes and social media is that kind of a beast. It will always look at negatives first rather than highlighting the positives. So you have to bring out the good points also in your network, which is our accessibility, which is our competitive service cost, which is our better availability of parts and services, which is our maintenance costs and the service maintenance packs, which are now complimentary 1 year available across our car lines, which is the class leading warranties in our cars. Now the Kushaq and the Kodiaq come with 5 years warranty. So these are definitely things which we have implemented as facts, which will take a little bit of time for customers to recognize. But I'm sure we will also have to communicate these benefits to customers better.
Has the cleanup at your dealer end, is it done, or is it still an ongoing process?
What do you mean by cleanup?
Like sorting out the dealer network?
That is always an ongoing thing. At the end of the day, like any other organization, like any other distribution network, there will always be 10 or 15%, so-called laggards. There are two ways to approach it. One is that you work with them, so that those 10 or 15%, up their game, come up to speed. And if not, then there has to be a natural churn. It is the survival of the fittest at the end of the day.
Before we end, let's talk about your career. You started off, I believe, at Toyota.
Yeah.
You were in the service side of things. Then you moved to the Volkswagen Group. Tell us a brief on your career.
No, I think, if I hark back to my Toyota days, among the first 50 employees in sales and marketing, I think, in 99. So a lot of blood, sweat, and tears there, because at that time we were setting up the factory in Bidadi in Bangalore. So there are buildings in that complex where I've laid the bricks also. Yeah, first 1,500 Qualis which rolled out of the assembly line were personally checked with me, because my first assignment as an intern there or as a trainee there was to do a quality check of 1,500 cars. So that was a bloody tough job. 1,500 cars squatting and doing the check. So that's how I have come up. So the hard way. So a lot of learning, I think, at the start of your career, when you get into these kind of details. You know what you're talking about. You know what a car is built of. I can today also, look at a car and understand what the flaws in the paint are. Yeah, that's the kind of experience I've gone through. I can, I can actually, put my hand on the engine and say there is something wrong. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that you have gone through. So good learning. I spent almost 3 years also with Toyota in Japan. So that was again a very different learning. Worked in after sales, worked in network development, worked in quality. So after that, moved to Volkswagen in 2013. As head of after sales. Then moved to sales in 2017, then brand director, and now here I am. Yeah, so quite a good learning. Again, as I said, I've never thought about what my career has been, where my career needs to go. Never thought like that. I think, again, coming back to the same thing, Gita, which is ingrained in my mind, karam kar.
For somebody who's watching this and who aspires to become somebody in the automotive industry, at the Skoda Group, what are the opportunities that are there and in what streams?
I think opportunities are available across all functions. Yeah, so we are a growing organization. We are increasing our footprint. We are increasing our presence in the market. We are increasing our portfolio. So there are a lot of opportunities available across functions, especially in sales and marketing, which I am responsible for. In communications, we are expanding our marketing team. We are expanding our product team because you have more number of products to handle. We are expanding our sales teams because you have a wider network to address. Yes.
And what skill sets are hugely in demand?
Digital marketing definitely is something which is very much in demand. Talent is also restricted there. There are digital marketeers, dime a dozen available, but not worth their weight right now. People who really understand what works in digital space is very limited. So at the end of the day, when I call for applications, I will get 100, but quality wise, I think long way to go.
Finally, Ashish, any upcoming Skoda models that you can tease for our viewers and listeners?
You already spoke about it. Yeah. So yes, definitely we are looking at bringing that icon to India and soon.
Okay. All the best, Ashish.
Thank you.
Yeah, and look forward to catching up with you, doing more stuff. Driving the Kodiaq and the Kylaq. Personally, I think the Kylaq is really nice. To me, it is the best driving compact SUV, and it drives like what a Skoda is supposed to drive.
Sure.
It feels authentic, and it doesn't compromise on any areas, and that's what I really like. And I wish you lots of success. I hope to see a lot of them on the road, and look forward to catching up at your next iconic launch. Thank you, Ashish. All the best.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you guys for listening and watching the episode. If you have any questions for Ashish Gupta, any questions about Skoda, any thoughts and comments on what they should be focusing on at Skoda, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next week.